war never changes. For that matter, Company of Heroes hasn't changed all that much either. Company of Heroes 2 may not be the revolution the original was, but it is still a heart-pounding strategy game with an array of solo and multiplayer confrontations. Expect your micromanagement skills to get a workout online, and for your senses to be bombarded by the rigors of the Eastern Front.
I had a lot of time to think about those men and what they did for me, and the price they paid for their bravery.
The campaign story doesn't always effectively communicate those rigors, however. Mediocre-looking cutscenes try to get the blood boiling, but it's best to ignore the awkwardly acted melodrama and let the missions themselves do the talking. The best of them demonstrate the hopelessness of the individual soldier, and even early missions impress upon you the disposability of your Soviet troops. One way Company of Heroes 2 does this is with winter weather.
Look at these tracks.
On snowy maps, the fearsome rush of cold makes for chilly soldiers. Infantry might need a warm fire or an available structure to avoid succumbing to death. Soldiers trudge through drifts of snow, and crossing an icy pond could prove fatal if the weight of a tank is too much for the flimsy ice to handle. Do you risk sending unprotected soldiers to a desolate capture point, hoping they can make the trek without freezing to death? The weather is not an issue on every map, but when it's a concern, your usual tactical approach may not work. Meanwhile, voiceovers frequently remind you that you're sending troops out to die for the motherland, and the endless stream of free conscripts most missions gift you reinforce the idea that no one individual is indispensable. Unfortunately, this huge supply of free infantry also makes it too easy to win some campaign missions by steamrolling across the map using sheer numbers. That might be a somewhat authentic representation of the Soviet strategy, but it isn't that challenging to orchestrate.
He's coming! Get down!
Nevertheless, campaign missions still manage to be varied and intense. When a squad hits the ground, pinned by oppressive fire, it not only looks authentic, but it also hinders your progress. A vehicle's rockets might hit a structure and make a grand fireworks show, but demolishing that building might also mean getting an obstacle out of your way so that you can hit the enemy where it hurts. Company of Heroes 2 is a 1-2 punch of powerful production values and nail-biting confrontations. Company of Heroes 2 excels when it sticks to its standard strategic formula. In a typical match, you start with a squad of engineers or pioneers and construct the necessary structures to pump out new units. You then move infantry quickly into the map to capture victory points and increase the flow of necessary resources. The campaign takes a while to get all the mechanics in play, however.
The Germans have set up artillery somewhere within the area.
So if you need a greater offline challenge, head to the Theater of War. The theater includes a number of cooperative and solo challenges, and are typically much more difficult than the campaign. While the campaign is focused on the Soviets, the theater includes both USSR and German missions, some of which are wildly intense. Managing multiple control groups on icy maps, or walking a tightrope of map control and base defense is tense and exciting. It's online that you see Company of Heroes 2's best moments. There are a few balance issues to contend with, but it can be a thrill to face evenly matched competition. You see human competitors exploiting mechanics the AI never does. For instance, players will utilize the authentic line of sight mechanic, which unveils the fog of war based on what the unit should be expected to see rather than a set radius. A mortar team in the right nook can wreak havoc and have you ordering a recon aircraft to survey the area or shooting off a flare. The recon comes courtesy of your chosen commander, who affords you certain abilities you can perform once you earn enough commander points during the match. Your decisions from the very beginning of an online match can have far-reaching consequences, from the way you handle your engineer or pioneers to the effectiveness of your flanking maneuvers. Careful planning can culminate in a tense standoff at a single victory point, with your tank rolling in at the last minute to pick off the remaining enemy troops vying for point control. But heartbreak also comes, often in the form of a flame-spewing half-track that burns multiple squads to a crisp in seconds. Company of Heroes 2 offers consistent levels of enjoyment online. Offline, it's usually fantastic, though some missions, like those that have you sniping enemy officers, can feel tedious and show off some odd AI behavior. But when it finds its target, Company of Heroes 2 delivers a mighty payload that shows strategy gaming at its most intense.